Hello everybody, we are here with our SPL Week 3 predictions, guys. Week 2 is crazy. We did not do as good in Week 2 as we did in Week 1. But now that we've kind of settled down a little bit, we're kind of seeing tendencies of who's winning. Denial's doing very well, although they dropped a game to Envy. LG's doing well. Soar's doing well in NA. Over in Europe, we have Paradigm doing great. Panthera doing well, even though they dropped a game to Cringe Crew. And as well as Hungry for More. So those are kind of our top 3 teams right now in each region that are doing pretty solid. So moving into this week, on Thursday we've got Eager versus Envy. Eager 4-4, Envy 2-6 right now, guys. Envy coming off of the they took a split with Denial, which is interesting. It is interesting, but I'm not 100% sure if they're going to be able to keep it up. Eager playing very well last week against Team Allegiance. Pretty long games, 35, 45-minute games. But I think this is going to go 2-0 the way of Eager. Oops, daisies. Oops, daisies. 2-0 the way of Eager for our first game. ALG against Randozzo's. Randozzo's has only split 1 game so far. They split against Envy. They've lost the rest of their games. They're looking pretty solid, and they've had some. They had like a decent lead against Denial, I think, maybe a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead at one point. But they're not right now taking the mid and late game, the team fights to wins. They're having the early game pretty far down, but once they get that transition period, they seem to be struggling, giving it 2-0 the way of Allegiance. I gotta stop double clicking. Gotta stop double clicking. Next up, we have Luminosity versus Denial, which should be great. This should be a really good game. Denial tied for first place right now in North America with Soar. Luminosity in a solid 3rd place. Okay. Very strong teams, both of them. Both have a lot of potential going into this. For Denial, I'm looking in the jungle. I think Denial has a stronger jungler. I think that Homifei is playing really, really well this season. Luminosity, on the other hand, has a really strong duo lane. They're doing quite well, so I think they're probably win the duo lane. And a lot of it might come down to the solo lane. Whoever ends up winning that matchup may be able to help bring the rest of it over to his team, bring it into the team fights. So I think a lot of pressure is going to be on the solo laners this matchup, because I feel like the jungler's going to win, but the hunters is going to lose respectively for Denial. And then, of course, the opposite for Luminosity. So a lot going to be coming down to that solo lane, but I think this is going to go the way of Split. But that should be a great series, and I've got to stop double-clicking. Enemy versus Soar. So this could be an interesting matchup, but I'm going to pretend like it's not a little bit, okay? Enemy has lost a lot of games, okay? They're in 6th place right now because they have not had Panda Cat, their hunter. Now Panda Cat is back, but they're going against Soar, tied for 1st place in North America. I don't think Enemy is going to take this. I think Panda's been gone for too long. Even if maybe they were against somebody else, they would have a good chance against them without Panda. I think going immediately into Soar, they're going to lose 2-0. So I've got that wrapped up with Soar. Moving into Friday, we've got our European games. Paradigm versus Fantastique. Nothing super crazy here. Paradigm playing really, really well. Only dropping a game so far to Energy, a.k.a. Panthera, a.k.a. Epsilon Esports. So they should do just dandy. Although Fantastique not playing too bad. But, I mean, it's Paradigm. They're destroying right now. They're destroying. Sanguine versus Cyclone. This should be basically, this is kind of bottom of the barrel EU. Both of these teams, for the most part, trying to fight to not be last place. Cyclone having some decent potential, having some okay moves. Sanguine not seeing too much from them. I'm actually going to give this 2-0 the way of Cyclone. You could put this split, which is fairly safe, but I do think that Cyclone is a better team and that Sanguine will have a harder time there. Cringe Crew versus Dig. So this is an interesting matchup. Dignitas is like playing good but bad, and Cringe Crew was playing bad, but then they beat Energy. So it's kind of weird, this little matchup right here. Cringe Crew, as we had said, they've been having a hard split, but they just took a game off of Energy in the first game. Whether that was because Panthera wasn't paying that much attention, they weren't taking it that seriously, or whether because they really came out strong one game, I don't know. It can be hard to tell. Dignitas, on the other hand, has been playing pretty strong, but they've been kind of like throwing random things where they shouldn't have. I think that they should probably even be a better team than their record shows. But they're kind of teetering on this edge. They're kind of teetering on this edge. But I am going to give it 2-0 to way of Dignitas. I do think the Cringe Crew win over Energy was a fluke. And one of these days I want to stop double clicking. Finishing up the week, we have Energy Esports versus Hungry for More. This should be a great game. I do think Energy is going to take it 2-0. So this is kind of strange. Energy lost a game to Cringe Crew out of nowhere. They should not have lost that game. They were not on their game. Raffer died like 11 times. They were off their game. Hungry for More is playing very well, but they haven't played. When they played the big boys, Paradigm, they lost 2-0, and it wasn't even close. Okay? I think that perhaps they've got it down to where they're so much better than the lower tier teams, but the top tier teams are still giving them a lot of trouble, as shown by Paradigm. I'm going to give this 2-0 to way of Energy. Now, if you think that Energy losing was truly them, to Cringe Crew, a game was kind of truly off their game, then I would put that split, but I still have faith in Energy for 2-0. First up on our Saturday, Energy versus Fantastic. Energy 2-0, not even going to worry about it. Easy, straightforward. Cringe Crew versus Cyclone GG. This one will be a little bit more interesting. Cyclone should be coming off of at least a win or two from previous in the week. Cringe Crew should not be winning their games earlier in the week against Dignitas. This could put morale in an interesting situation for Cringe Crew, whether they can come back from it, or if they win earlier in the week because they have the hype off of taking a game off of Energy, who knows? Maybe they start carrying that momentum. But for the most part, I'd be leaning towards Cyclone GG on this just a little bit if you're a 2-0 kind of person. But I'm going flat, split on that. That should be a fairly good set, actually. That should be a fairly good set. Hungry for More versus Sanguine Esports. Don't think too hard about it. Hungry for More takes it 2-0. Paradigm versus Dig. So Paradigm is one of those teams where for the last couple of splits, right, pretty much as far as Paradigm's been the team, they've always started their splits nice and slow. They've always took their time. They've had a little bit of a rough start, and then they finish like 10-0. That's kind of just been the Paradigm way, but this split, they've come out swinging right out of the gate. While Dignitas is a strong team, I think Paradigm is actually going to be the #1 team in Europe over Energy. I think Energy is going to drop down to #2 for this split. I do. I really think Paradigm has got it figured out right now. Moving into our Sunday games, we have Enemy versus Envy. So you may blow this off, okay? You may kind of blow this off, but you really can't. Okay, you really can't blow off this game. Enemy getting back Panda Cat. Sure, they should be stronger, right? But they've lost so many games in a row. Envy, you're like, well, they're one of the bottom teams right now, but they just took a game off Denial, and Denial stomped Enemy without even, like, thinking about it. Like, they just walked right through it, okay? I think this set could actually be a lot closer than people think it's going to be. I think it could be a lot closer. I'm actually going to throw this the way of split. This is going to be probably my crazy pick of the week. I'm going split between Enemy and Envy. I feel like most people are going to take this 2-0 for Enemy. That's fine. This is going to be my crazier pick of the week with a split between Enemy and Envy. LG versus Vandozos. That should be free FP for LG. They shouldn't have too much problems there. Sora versus LG. I pray to the gods that something, Andy slips and falls and forgot to put on his life alert or something. But This is going to be a rough game for Allegiance. Soar is absolutely on just a destruction path right now. Between them and Denial, they are duking it out for first place. This should be a crazy set of games. If Allegiance can win a game here, I think it's going to be pretty strong for them, showing them at their top level. But the only way Allegiance wins here is if they play at their top game. They can't play like they did against Eager. They need to play like they did against Enemy in the second game. But for now, 2-0 the way of Soar. Finally, finishing up, we have Denial versus Eager. I think that if both these teams play at their best capabilities, Denial takes this. Eager has been playing up a bit recently. They had a pretty slow start to the split, but now they're kind of moving forward. They're moving forward, and they're playing a bit stronger. The safe bet here is 2-0 Denial. That's your safe bet. But I think with Eager's play style, it might actually work into Denial a little bit. And I'm going to throw this the way of split. Finishing up the week. So that's all of our games, guys, for the week. We have Eager over Envy, ALG over Randozzo's, LG Denial split, Soar over Enemy Esports. Friday, moving into Europe, we have Paradigm over Fantastique, Cyclone over Sanguine, Dignitas over Cringe Crew, and Energy over Hungry for More. Continuing with our European games, Energy over Fantastique, Cringe Crew, Cyclone split, Hungry for More over Sanguine, and Paradigm over Dig. Sunday, wrapping up our SPL for week 3 will be Enemy Envy tie, LG 2-0 over Randozzo's, Soar 2-0 over ALG Areno, but ALG's actually going to win 2-0. Don't even worry about it. And Eager Denial split to finish up the week. Let me know, guys, down in the comments here on YouTube if you agree or disagree, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's the final countdown. Ba-da-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-boo. The final countdown.